door. It's the grass. It's the fun. We got down.
What are we gonna do? Flash it.
Swallow.
And let's flick it.
Why would you have two motorcycle cops show up?
Everybody remain seated where you are.
Hey man, will you put me on and you know I can say anything I want to put on this film? Then why is an alcohol made illegal? Flowers and grass. Like toothpick chips, hangovers and roses and
This reminds me of every Saturday night at my house in the 70s.
Cigarettes are much worse. Right, man. You tell him. Hey, quit pushing. Gotta get everything, you know, the weed and the addiction. You can blow as much as you want.
And quit any time you want. There's nothing wrong with blowing grass. Yeah, 1,000 times, but you'll never go to Heart and
Did you say blowing grass?
Use them anyway.
Well, speak your mind then.
Okay, I will. No one has the right to tell me what I can do with my own body, what I can eat, drink, or smoke.
Clarence Thomas does.
Take away my constitutional rights. I think it's terrible that the American people have accepted a law that makes smoking a harmless weed illegal. Marijuana is legal all over the world. There's no question about it. Marijuana should be made legal. Now! Make marijuana legal! Make marijuana legal! Make marijuana legal!
Good, bad, right, wrong. That's not where it's at in this film. Right. Too many people have already decided for themselves and
Alters my
whether grass
personality?
is good or bad.
What the hell are you talking about?
What's most important
Oh my
is
God.
what you think. So without any preaching from this film, let's examine the facts and only the facts.
Where
There are
did you
too
buy that
many
horrible
false
suit?
impressions and prejudices to do it any other way.
Okay, then why is an alcohol made illegal? It's a lot worse than grass.
Because they get taxes on it, that's why.
Hangovers, cirrhosis of the liver. Besides, grass is inhibitory like alcohol.
Right. The facts are, if you drink enough,
You'll shit your
alcohol will
pants.
give you hangovers, cirrhosis of the liver, and what's more, it can even kill you.
Oh my God.
If you are a certain emotional and psychological type, you may become dependent both physically and emotionally.
Oh, you're a little
and
June
will
bug.
join the 5 to 6 million known alcoholics in the United States. Now, what are the facts about marijuana? What do doctors and psychiatrists have to say about which is worse for you physically and emotionally, alcohol or marijuana? The facts are,
How about we'll
at
have
this
both?
time, there are no known damaging physical effects from the use of marijuana. But, unlike alcohol, when you take too much at one time, you don't pass out. You more than likely run the risk of an unpredictable and unpleasant bummer.
A bummer? Wow, I've never had a bummer. I've been smoking weed for God, how long? Oh shit, that's me every morning. Oh, it's the guy from Marvel Comics.
The occasional drink before dinner by adults, like the occasional use of marijuana, does not necessarily lead to an emotional dependency in the stable, mature personality.
The occasional use of marijuana before dinner makes dinner taste a hell of a lot better.
Good orange. Well, that's smart.
However, teenage is not a time of great maturity and stability for most teenagers.
Nice haircut.
The pressures of school, parents, finding your own identity and self-confidence
Is that Doogie Howser?
set you up for a drug dependency that could just as well be alcohol if you preferred that to grass.
Oh, cool, he's mixing wine with vodka.
Some adults are not mature or strong enough to stand the pressures of their daily lives. these adults can become just as emotionally dependent on marijuana as on alcohol, whichever is more socially acceptable and easier to get. Even when the alcoholic is physically withdrawn from his body's need for alcohol, he always goes back to it until he learns how to handle
Doesn't
his
Sonny
problems.
sound like he's stoned?
Just as the alcohol drinker who finds himself needing a drink more and more frequently is the warning sign of his dependency, so it is with the pothead. The more he needs the escape from or the pleasure of marijuana, the more he is becoming emotionally dependent, exactly as the square and unhip alcoholic adult does.
Square and unfit alcoholic adult.
Do two wrongs ever make one right?
No, Sonny, because you're baked.
Cigarettes are much worse than man. That's the way it got cancer, man.
That's right. It's a fact. No one ever got cancer from pot. But it's also a fact that no one ever dropped out of school because they were hung up on tobacco. And no one who just finished smoking a cigarette ever forgot she was driving a car as she tripped out on the beauty of a back road nature trip.
Holy shit. Wow. Yeah, I'll tell you, I've tripped out on many dirt roads and gone over many cliffs. But
And no cigarette pusher ever tried to turn you on to hard drugs or the needle. Another basic
your friendly
difference
local heroin
is that you
dealer.
can smoke cigarettes and do other things. You wouldn't dare to do this on pot.
You want to bet?
Or this. Or this. And would you rather your pilot had just finished a joint, not a cigarette?
Why, either way, you'd be flying.
Or your surgeon operating on your heart? Your attorney pleading your case? Your sergeant? Your dentist? Your flight leader? Your team center? Your LSO?
What?
Your school bus driver?
How many school bus
country's
drivers? You have to
astronaut.
be stoned to drive them kids.
Or even the guy who is just changing your front tire? Would you rather he was smoking a cigarette or a joint?
Hey, one lug nut will hold this
However,
on.
neither your government nor any responsible person recommends smoking. So, 2 or 3 wrongs don't make one right either.
Everybody knows that weed is a jab. You can blow as much as you want.
So I'm here.
And quit any time you want.
Blow as much grass as you like, and your body won't need it? Right. You can quit any time you like? Not true for everybody. And that's the problem. The World Health Organization of the United Nations, with its leading medical and psychiatric experts from over 100 member nations, has this to say about marijuana being habit-forming without one dissenting vote.
Oh, God. Psychic dependence upon the drug. Appreciation of these.
There's nothing wrong with blowing crap. Yeah. 1,000 times you'll never go to heart drugs.
That may be true for the great majority who smoke pot, but it's not true for the many thousands who have gone on to acid,
Oh, yeah, I just
Amphetamines.
jumped into all that shit right after one joint.
barbiturates,
More like I drove to the
and
donut
end
shop.
up on heroin. However, it is not a fact that practically everyone on grass turns into a flaky drug addict. That's just not true. Every informed person knows this. What is true
He shot
may be
it through his
discovered
sleeve
in
of
this
his shirt.
Narcotics Rehabilitation Center in some of the group's therapy sessions, Werewolf, what former drug addicts have to say about marijuana turning them onto hard drugs.
How many of you started on pot before you started heroin?
I did. I did too. So did I. I did.
I started pot and went to Chinese food.
I did. So did I.
That means all of you used marijuana then.
Yeah.
I was 11 when I first started using it.
I was about 19.
I think it's kind of hard to deal marijuana because it's so bulky, you know, and you have to go through the trouble of chopping it up and cleaning it. I think it's much easier to deal heroin, you know, than marijuana.
Really, because, you know, all that bulk and everything, it's much easier just to have a small bag of balloon that you can carry, and you can cut that up and get a lot more money for it.
You know, and all the trouble you have to go through.
So you're not in rehab, you're dealing
especially to get a kilo, you know, you have to cut it up, then you have to clean it, you know, and then you have to roll it and box it, you know, and can it. You know, it's just a really big hassle behind it, you know.
What are you working
That's
at
why I
grocery
think
store?
the dealers go on to dealing heroin and then get us to buying heroin.
I think if you smoke marijuana or take pills or get loaded in any way at all, that you will be exceptional.
You wind up with hair like mine.
You will have contact with this environment.
I definitely think that if you get loaded on marijuana, you are subjected to the environment, and it does become readily available to you.
That's the way it is, man. You know, when you're around a crowd and you're all smoking weed and then they start using some other drug and you go right ahead along with them and you end up using it and get higher. And then the weed isn't good enough anymore. And then you turn on to heroin too.
Most of you started smoking marijuana when you were introduced to narcotics.
I did. I started smoking weed.
You did,
For me it was, but I wanted a different high, you know. And weed wasn't good enough, and I heard that heroin
These guys
and
are too clean
stimulant
cut to be
crystals
druggies.
were a better high. And that's why I went to them, you know.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I guess a lot of people started that way. Speaking for myself, I did.
I started on weed and got burned out, and I needed something stronger, so I went to heroin.
Well, I started smoking weed, you know, because I was running away from something which was myself. And out of all I've run through a lot of highs trying to run away from myself. Heroin, LSD, methadone. I like marijuana, I just couldn't handle it myself. I was looking for something else.
I myself think really the real reason I started smoking marijuana, man, because usually I was one of the younger dudes from my neighborhood. I wanted to be accepted. I was weak, scared.
Yeah.
From this it led to heroin, and it's just been an endless
Yeah, I know.
time
As soon
going
as I
to jail
finish
back and
enjoying them, I
forth.
run down the
I
corner to
don't
the
like
gas
it,
station
and I
and buy
hope
some
nobody
heroin.
else will use this, not because of the fact that it's bad itself, but what it leads to, man.
It
is the way I
leads to
feel.
donuts,
Well, I can only
pizza.
speak for myself, but I imagine some of the other dudes in here feel the same way I do about it. That some people are addictive prone to it. I mean, like myself, I can't handle it because, I mean, this is just the way I am. I use it for an escape. I did it before I
the
came
cops are
in here.
here,
I
holy
hope when I
shit.
go out that I've changed, in which I feel that I have. But I'm a small minority of people that we can't handle anything. You know, like my alcohol, I can't handle that. I couldn't handle
Like a
heroin.
job, you can't handle that.
Weed because I needed something stronger to escape or anything else like that. And there's more people like me that I feel, you know. And I imagine some of the other dudes in here could go along with
handle liquor either.
No.
Yeah, it's a personality thing where there's a lot of people that can go out there.
These are the files of the Research and Statistics Office of this Narcotics Rehabilitation Center. It's like out of 100 drawers, 95 of them are filled with folders of people who have started on marijuana. The rest started on glue,
The other files are
pills,
full of the Roman
alcohol, and a few on heroin itself. Accurate percentage is 78% of the inmates started on marijuana. However, what computer doesn't say is
There's certain kind of people that will avoid taking care of business and will turn to grass when they get hung up and forget about everything else they're supposed to do when they're behind grass.
Marijuana doesn't, it's not addictive, but by using it, you don't do the things that you should do. For instance, like in school, you try to do the things that you have to do in school, but your mind is
You're making absolutely no sense,
not
sir.
over there.
Please shut up.
Nobody can tell me what to do with my own body, what I can eat, drink, or smoke. This is a free country, and nobody has the right to take away my constitutional rights.
Clarence Thomas
That could be a fact if you were the only one affected by what you do. But the Constitution and the laws that came out of
The
it
Constitution
were designed
was
to
written
protect
on
the
hemp.
individual
You can smoke hemp.
and the group from irresponsible individuals, which is why there are speeding laws.
If you take
building
speed, you go
safety
35
laws.
miles an hour.
Pure food laws, pure drug laws, laws to protect your money, laws to protect children, laws to protect the aged, and even a law to protect you from taking your own life.
Jump, jump, jump. We'll catch you. We'll adopt your baby, too. Hit him with a taser, Bob.
Law after law after law. All of them hopefully designed by a democratic government to protect both the individual and the group. From aspirin to the latest vaccines, the manufacture and control of all drugs is government supervised.
Yeah, that really gives me a lot of faith.
Would you really want it any other way? Like without government supervision?
Sure, all you do is taste them and look the other way.
As a drug, marijuana comes under the supervision of the federal and state governments.
Whoa.
It is the assigned work of the police to enforce the law. It is not something they dreamed up on their own. From the Ten Commandments to the Constitution, man has made laws to protect him from hurting himself in the common interest of the group called society. Doctors, psychiatrists, social scientists, chemists, biochemists, basically people who are not primarily concerned with the ethics or morality of the use of marijuana, have provided their expert knowledge to our legislators, which in turn has caused them to pass laws to make marijuana illegal, not as a matter of morality, but as a matter of health, mental health.
I think it's terrible that the American people have accepted a law that makes smoking a harmless weed illegal. Marijuana is legal all over the world. There's no question about it. Marijuana should be made legal. Now! Make marijuana legal!
There's no question about it. Many young people agree with that. Let's examine the facts. First, marijuana is not legal all over the world. It isn't legal in Mexico, Egypt, India, Great Britain, China, Japan, or any of the major nations in the civilized world. Nigeria is one of the latest countries to make marijuana illegal. Here, the pusher is given the death penalty.
Oh, wonderful. Sonny.
Though each year, more and more teenagers commit crimes while up on grass, this is not the major problem.
Nobody
However,
commits crimes when they're
grass
stoned.
as a factor in crime must not be overlooked, especially in that percentage of unstable and aggressive types and those who wind up in trouble with the law because of something done while they are high on pot.
What are they doing, actually? What are they going to, like, nosedive through the glass window? Here we go. Cops were waiting for me.
Too many average and decent teenagers smoke pot without committing crimes, except for the illegality of the sale, possession, or the use of it. So, why not make it legal? Why not bring it out in the open and make it legal in America? It's just that there are too many unstable people in America who become emotionally dependent on marijuana and end up non-functioning.
Marijuana's got nothing to do with anybody being unstable today. That guy wanted
Easy
to suck a doorknob.
availability and the implied approval of society will, in the opinion of many medical authorities, create a drug dependency problem far more serious than that of the 5 to 6 million alcoholics today. If the acknowledged effect of marijuana is much greater than alcohol, it becomes easy to see why the emotionally unstable and immature may turn to marijuana in even greater numbers than to alcohol, and eventually go to more dangerous drugs in the form of LSD, pills, and heroin.
Who, me?
Who, me?
Who, me?
Who, me?
Yes,
it's
you.
possible.
Who, me?
And that's the problem. You can never tell who is so stable and so emotionally secure that they will not become dependent on marijuana or other drugs for pleasure and full-time escape.
Let's go now. I'm feeling good.
Nothing, baby. Nothing.
Okay, where does this figure in there? Oh, they're gonna run the baby over. Oh yeah. I can see where this is going.
Years ago, only the criminal and socially deprived blew grass or used heroin. Today, the nicest people may be on grass.
And the nicest
Why
people
is that
might be
a
on
fact?
heroin, too.
I took it on a dare.
But only kids take dares.
I dare ya. Come on.
Jump! And little Johnny broke the leaf guard.
Man, everybody blows pot.
But everybody doesn't blow.
I don't want it, man. I don't want it.
You get a contact high anyway, just sit there and shut up.
Take a hit. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. No. Take a drag. It won't hurt you. Come on. You got
The first sign of character and emotional weakness is when you things just because others are doing them.
When I'm high, it enhances my creativity.
This is the same subject matter and painter for both paintings. One was painted before going up on weed, and the other while high on weed. Can you see any significant creative difference?
Other than they both.
When I'm high, it enhances my creativity.
The artist thinks he's being more creative, but do you see it in his work? To some extent, the very inhibited person may feel a greater freedom to be creative.
I've seen his work in
This doesn't
Walmart.
mean he will have the necessary talent to be so.
It really makes me understand myself.
If you don't understand yourself when you're down, then there's no logical or scientifically accepted reason that you will when you're high. Besides, while you're up on grass, you may tell yourself only what you want to know, if you are lucky enough not to be on a bad trip and discover a frightening thing about yourself at that time.
Too funny. they're smoking, but I
Let's
really
face
would like
it.
some of that.
The reasons we've heard for blowing grass up to now are like an iceberg. What about the underlying reasons that are like the 90% of the iceberg you never see? The reasons below the surface that makes teenagers get so hung up on marijuana in spite of what their parents say and in spite of the big risk of being busted.
The world stinks. Adults keep making wars. Next war will probably kill everybody on Earth, including me.
Parents are hypocrites. They tell us one thing, but then they do another. Why don't they practice what they preach?
Why are adults so hung up with making money? That's all they think about.
School's a real bummer. Dull teachers, dull subjects. I just can't wait to get out.
Why can't we dress the way we want in school?
Sure, we're old enough to be drafted, but we're not old enough to vote.
Why are they always treating us like children?
Adults never have time to listen to us. And when they do, they just don't think what we're saying. If adults like to make war so much, why don't they confide in them?
I'm better educated than either of my parents, but they don't listen to me.
How can I plan for the future with the draft waiting for me?
Why don't you come back some other time when everything is all right with us? And in the meantime, I'll do what I want to do here, and you do what you want to do where you live. Dig?
Actually, I agree with
grass?
that for that time period.
Why shouldn't I live now and have all the fun I can? If I don't get killed in the war or by the big bomb, all I can look forward to is making money like my father. And I know he isn't happy.
You know, sometimes I think it's like a war. Everyone over 30 is the enemy.
Over 30? Over 25.
Obviously, these are things that bug a lot of the young people. But this time, rather than hear from the establishment who run newspapers, radio, television, book and magazine publishing companies, political parties, and schools, let's hear from those other teenagers who aren't smoking pot.
Not all teenagers are on grass. I'm not, and my close friends aren't.
Every time someone wants to turn me onto pot, they tell me I'll discover myself. Well, I don't need that kind of crutch. Besides, I've never seen any potheads come up with any kinds of answers that help them cope with the kind of problems they have, or I have.
I think the teenagers of today are very idealistic. But we don't have definite ways of showing it. We're not old enough to vote, and older people are always telling us what to do. You can't blame us too much for fighting back. But I don't think taking drugs is fighting back.
But stealing the
Most of
horses.
the say for it is a sign of rebellion. But what we rebel about isn't changed one bit by getting high on marijuana, because when you come back down, nothing's changed.
I think that parents have done the best they can. You can't expect them to know all the answers. Lots of us have had a better education than they have, but that doesn't prevent us from profiting from their experience.
I think you've got to be real immature to get hung up on pot. Mature people try to find solutions for their problems instead of trying to find new experiences.
I say that teenage is the time to put up or shut up, not to gripe and go on a trip inside yourself, but to have guts like our parents have to have, to go out every day and deal with the things in the outside world that bug them too.
And mommy's taking diet pills and daddy.
I know my parents are too hung up on making money and putting on a show for the neighbors, but that doesn't mean I have to put down money completely. Because maybe now I don't need much, but when I get married, I'm going to have money for my family too. I just don't have to be as materialistic about it, that's all.
The world is changing, and some things are still too hard for our parents to understand. But blowing grass, well, that's really a cop-out, and it won't help our parents understand the darn thing.
School's like everything else. You only get out of it what you put into it. It's not a party. The way I look at it, I'm here to learn. Even if some of the subjects or the teachers aren't the greatest, I've got to make the best of it.
Millions of adults